The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
You know, I got accused of being a little bit morose at the start of last week's podcast. It's impossible to be morose when you're listening to Prince and Raspberry Beret. Great song. You know, it's not my favourite item of clothing, a Raspberry Beret. I like a banana long john, or maybe a Satsuma Pashmina. I am very, very tired this week, so I might be just going a little bit mad, which would explain a lot of things. It also doesn't help that I've not got a script in front of me. Yeah, here we go. Found it. And I've not written an intro anyway. Unless I could just read last week's one, which would really confuse everyone. Thursday the 9th of November, episode 107. No, welcome to the 90s podcast. My name is Nick Draper, for those of you that don't know. Joined once again by Stuart Deakins. It is Thursday the 16th of November, in fact. And I have no real stat to give you about that one. Oh, working it out logically, if last week was the anniversary of beating Merstham 2-0 on Cheese Roll Day, then this week is the anniversary of 5-1 home defeat to Southall in the Combined Counties League Cup, I think. What a happy memory that was.
I can remember it well.
Do you remember the following week, actually? It's so sad, I know this off the top of my head, which is really bad. The following week after that was Wallingford away, that famous day when we were greeted by every single member of Thames Valley Police.
Yeah, wasn't that a day, though, that they'd done the steam train journey, wasn't it? Wasn't we going?
Yeah.
So they started off so well and then ended with the helicopters and everyone else joining us. Great day for transport.
It was a long old day, wasn't it? Blimey.
It was. It was, mate.
Anyway, talking about long days, we've had lots of long days this season, haven't we? Because we've been rubbish. But on Saturday we had some goals. No, we didn't, because it was on Sunday. I keep doing that. On Sunday, even, against Peterborough, we had some goals to talk about. We had some fun. We had some excitement at Kingsmeadow for once, and we'll be talking about that shortly. We'll also be looking ahead to a busy week for us coming up with, what have we got? Bristol Rovers first, isn't it, away, and then Oldham the following Tuesday. But our main focus this week is we want to talk about budgets. We want to talk about budgets this week, following on from some programme notes. In fact, Eric's, our illustrious chairman's chief executives, his programme notes over the past couple of weeks have given us plenty of food for thought in regards to budgets. So we're going to talk about that. But first of all, yes, let us go back over, review that Peterborough game, that 2-2 draw. And to be honest, Stu, I genuinely don't know if we should be happy or not, really. It is a good point. I'm sure we'd have taken it beforehand, I guess. But was there enough there to suggest we're really going to enjoy an upturn in fortunes?
We scored goals, so that helps. We've moaned that we've not scored enough goals, and we've always gone on about the stats of how many games we haven't scored goals in. So that's put that to bed for that game. I think if you take the positives from it, you know, we got Lyle got another goal, which is 6 in 5 or something like that. He's got, even though he looked surprised with the shot himself, whether he caught himself out. Great for Cody to get on the score sheet, so that takes that pressure. I know all forwards say that, and Bayo, remember back of Fen would go, I've been through these spells before and I don't worry. That's always rubbish. Strikers do worry. They want to score goals, don't they? So that's really good that Cody's got that milestone done, and hopefully now we go on and score a few goals. There are some other areas we didn't look great defensively. Peterborough did come to try and get some points. They played 3 at the back, matched us up. So they were confident enough to come to our place and take the game to us, and they probably could have, if you're looking at it, they probably could have taken all 3 points, and we held in for a good draw against a good Peterborough side, I think. It was
a good point. As we say, it was a good draw. We had to come from behind having lost the lead, which shows good character, I suppose, although you could argue the goal, well, a little bit fortunate, shall we say. If we'd have conceded that goal, we'd have been absolutely fuming, and we'd still be dissecting it right now.
Was that what, Lyle's goal or Cody's goal?
Cody's goal.
Yeah. What was it? The thing was, it was a great cross by Fuller. So you got to admire the whip he got on that cross to get the person clean through.
There are so many things I want to say right now. Yes. Barry Fuller, for those of you that don't know, is he identifies as does Josh Alaja. I don't really know where to go with that. It was.
Sorry, I didn't mean to chuck up one in and throw you off. Then
it was Deji, not Barry, wasn't it? I haven't got that one wrong.
It was, but in obviously we're having a bit of a laugh at the expense of the club who said it was a Barry Fuller cross. In their defence, I couldn't tell you in real time who played that ball because I think it caught us all out, didn't it? We just didn't. I said to you, who played that ball, and you were like, I don't know. So I think the club very much guessed of the area that it come from, that he thought it should have come from the right back channel, and but it definitely wasn't a cross. If that's a cross, then wow.
It was a cross, and the header that Cody finished it off with was incredible.
yeah. The finish from Cody is very good, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Someone who's not scored all season, he's got two defenders breathing down his neck, and he literally takes it to the 6-yard and then just slaughters it. It very much was a goal you would associate a forward who scored a lot of goals this season. You have to credit him for the confidence he had, and what it does show you, if you get some decent crosses into him, he'll score goals.
But, sorry, you know what, I was thinking ahead to my next question before you threw that one in the end there. They're defensively, awful. Awful.
Yeah, they're not good at all.
It's one ball over the top and neither of the centre halves react to it.
Yeah, but they don't play three at the back now much. From what I looked back on their formations, they were playing very much a four at the back. So it felt to me like they thought they could match us up with 3 against 3 because we played the 4-3-3 even though we played Forrester just behind Cody and Taylor. It was a free, so they literally matched us up, which is quite brave if you do that. But I also think that wasn't a formation they play a lot. So I suppose when you do that, you are more susceptible to basically being caught out. They were too high up the pitch. No one took the lead on it. Cody was allowed to run on. So I think we benefited from the first half of their naivety at the formation they played. Even though it gave them loads of good attacking options, and every time we lost the ball, we were in trouble. Equally, they were a bit short at the back because I think that's something they don't normally play.
Other goal scorer, Lyle Taylor. Yes, great that he had a shot from distance. We're always moaning when our players get into those sorts of positions they don't shoot. So very, very happy to see him have a go. And could argue slightly fortunate. Ball seemed to perhaps bobble over the goalkeeper's hand. Goalkeeper will be disappointed with it. But my main question about Lyle is, really, does he moan too much?
You hear that sometimes. Lyle likes to hear his own voice, doesn't he? With Lyle,
I can't with any justification have a go at Lyle for liking the sound of his own voice, considering we voluntarily do a podcast every week.
Yeah, true. I think with Lyle, what you got to accept with Lyle is that he's an ego. He loves, he rates himself as he should do. He's a forward, and he does very well. You've only got to see by his haircut. I had a friend who watched a game at work, and she was like, "Your forward has got a lot of front wear and a hairstyle like that." And I said, "Well, he's got to score goals, otherwise people are going to say you're a bit of a prima donna." So he holds it off, doesn't he? I think Lyle, he took his moaning away from him. You tend to take away that sort of drive that he's got. I think he moans as much to himself as he does to other people. So, no, I don't really have a problem with moaning. The only time I have a problem with that is if it starts to affect other people's performances, but I think it's more to influence his own performance than muck everyone else up.
Safe to say it's really harsh to criticise, and I think actually during most of the game on Saturday, I think I was apologising for being hypercritical all the time, but I do feel sometimes maybe I'm picking holes, but Lyle, despite the goal, in reality it wasn't his best game, I didn't think, by any stretch. Thought he spent too much time on the floor having a go at the referee, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I
get what you mean. I do get what you mean. I think Lyle's moans out of frustration that he doesn't. Because if you look at it, I suppose we moan when we get boxed in and we don't get out. And if you look at the second half, we didn't really have much offensive play because Peterborough put us on the back foot, weren't they? So I think Lyle's frustration sometimes comes out when he's not getting the service that he knows he needs. And that's when he then starts going and hunting balls down and going into areas he shouldn't. I think that's more his frustration because we didn't have... I'm trying to think chance-wise, what do we have in that second half? There wasn't loads, was there? I think we had a chance that went past the post, but that was a deflection. Yeah. But the actual supply into Cody and Lyle wasn't great in the second half, and I think that's where his frustrations come. But I agree with you. You and I do look at... I don't think it's just us. I think fans as such, we are looking at the nitty-picky stuff because that's the sort of season we've had. I think sometimes we're so blinded by what's going wrong that we probably don't actually appreciate what's going right. which is why I think it's important to recognise we scored 2 goals. That's what we moaned about most of the season. We haven't scored goals, so I know what you mean. I think we just had that sort of season where we just pick up on the negative stuff because it's just been a negative season.
Yeah, and a negative person would now perhaps keeping with Lyle, but we'll talk about what are we looking at? The equaliser. Now, Lyle got caught in possession, didn't he? I think that got lost in the shuffle, really, because of the free kick that we conceded, which was conceded by one Mr. Liam Trotter, who was at least influenced in the game in some way by causing that foul. We have to say, there are 2 things to pick up. And again, I know, sorry for being negative, but you are right. We are picking holes, and I'm just going to apologise for doing it. Hold my hands up to it. But Lyle, a few times actually on Saturday, got caught in possession. Looked like he needed an extra touch on the ball. Liam Trotter constantly looks like he needs time on the ball and time and space. But the defending for that free kick on his part was horrendous. It was horrendous, wasn't it?
Yeah, not good.
Did not get tight enough to the player whatsoever. And then by the time he did, it was too late.
Yeah, with Liam Trotter, one of the things that I think what he's good at, and he has got good, he has got ability. There's no doubting about it. I think we all recognise that. He's good with the ball. He's physically strong. He can get a pass off. He can travel forwards at a certain pace. One thing he's not good is recognising. One thing he's not good sometimes is recognising danger behind him, which concerns me for a player who's got the amount of league appearances he's got. That he sometimes doesn't recognise danger and he switches off and then he's nowhere. Then gives away stupid free kicks and as we did.
But yeah, very, very poor in his part. And actually, similarly, Tom Saws again for the penalty. But I think we've all accepted that was a clumsy foul. Probably not in keeping. Yeah, I mean.
But let's be honest, on a player that we now realise doesn't like restanding his feet too much, does he?
Well, that is true. He didn't. Yeah, let's be honest. He didn't need any extra encouragement to go down, but we can't have any complaints about the.
No, we called it. We were about a million miles away, weren't we? We both called it was. We were about a million miles away. We called it was a penalty. The people who were closest to it said no, it wasn't a penalty. That tells you.
What does that tell us?
It tells you that some people just have got blue and yellow tinted glasses on, doesn't it?
I see what you're saying. Yes. Well, I guess we were quite fortunate. I suppose we had a very clear. We were almost right behind it, weren't we, in a way, because of the angle of it.
Yeah.
So we could judge it, I suppose, maybe from the other angle, perhaps, very close to the edge of the box. Possibly see it a different way. The other thing about Liam Trotter there you mentioned, and I think you've reeled off a list of positives about him there, which is going to rile many of our listeners, I feel.
Of course it will. I
do have to preface this. There was an instance on Sunday, I was about to say Saturday again. He picked up the ball from deep, he brought it forward, he ran with it forward, played a pass, carried on his run into the box, got a header in. It was a rubbish header, but it was, he actually got in the box, actually made a run from deep to get on the end of the cross. My only issue is he had the time and space to do it. He's not a player that, when he's harried or hassled, that seems to like being in possession. He seems we know he's got a laid-back style. He seems to need that almost 5 yards of space around him. And the other thing is, physically strong, yes, but doesn't use it well enough.
No, I agree. I suppose I've got to a stage where you can see, I definitely can see why he's got deals with league clubs. You can see why Bolton picked him up, why Mill picked him up, why Scunthorpe had him on trial before he come to us in the window. You can definitely see what he's got about him. Positive-wise, you're right. You've only got to look at the Madsen incident to realise that he didn't really want to get involved. He's not a violent man, so he's a big lump, but he's not what you call he's not going to go and put his weight around. But I have seen loads of examples where he is able to muscle his way through and protect the ball and give it. The best performances I've seen him play is when he's had Anthony Hartigan in midfield with him, because he's very good at just getting the ball and giving it to someone better than him. I don't know if that's not a dig, by the way, for people think I'm trying to dig about someone better than him. But I saw enough times where Anthony Hartigan would play the quarterback role, which I love to think, and Liam Trotter would get the ball pass off, give it to him, and he'll go and do his stuff. So I think sometimes it depends what he's got around him. He might be better with a creative midfielder around him who he just literally supplies the ball to. But his faults are that he just comes across as lazy and not recognising danger. And that's, unfortunately, in a Wimbledon shirt, that's not going to be accepted by Wimbledon fans, because we can accept somebody not being good enough or not being skillful enough or having a bad day. But what we won't accept is somebody we feel putting in 100%, which is sometimes he's guilty of looking like.
Yeah, I don't think we can accuse too many of our players at the moment of not giving 100% at the moment. I think it's fair to say. But I also think there are certain players that, despite that, are showing their perhaps weakness at this level. One weakness I wanted to talk about as a team is set pieces. It was mentioned we conceded from a free kick on Sunday, and I think one of the players mentioned, it was disappointing because we've had a very good season defensively from set pieces, but the flip side of that is we haven't scored from one this season, and we never look like doing so. What are we doing wrong? And can we put it down just to a bit of a lack of height? Because I don't think we're that badly off in the height department. We stick Darius up for corners. Deji's got a great leap on him. Trotter has got the height to be a nuisance.
Yeah. We can't say we're not getting enough set pieces. We get a lot of corners, we get a lot of fouls around the box, especially when we had Kwesi playing for us, because Kwesi couldn't stand up for love nor money, could he? So we've got loads of cheap free kicks around the area. I don't know what it is. Is it a confidence thing this year? Because if you think, I'm trying to think, I don't think it was... Was it Saturday or was it the Lincoln game? The games are all sort of blended into one at the moment. But we did the old famous routine free kick where we've got a shot on from 25 yards, but we do the dink ball to the reverse side where the defender basically peels off and then gets a free header. And I think it was only the wind that took it away, so that would have been Lincoln, wouldn't it? Because it was windy.
No, actually, I think you're right.
It Sunday?
Was Sunday because I think we were watching it back on TV afterwards and commented on it.
Yeah, so it might be Sunday. So Darius managed to get up. So you don't have to be a big ugly side to do well from set pieces, because you can be imaginative. But we just haven't really. It looks like we haven't been confident enough to do that. And to give you another example, we did one corner on Sunday where George Franklin quite clearly gave the nod of what he was going to do. We've got a new routine rather than touching your head or touching a corner flag. There's a new routine of holding on to. They have the undershirt measuring tool now they have, which they measure their heartbeat and all that sort of stuff. You see him clearly grab hold of...
You were going to say like a meter stick, a meter wheel.
No, you clearly saw him literally hold on to it, and I could see clearly Lyle see it. And the idea of that was to do the short low cross to the edge of the area, then Lyle would get a shot off. The problem was Lyle switched off when George was playing it, and then it looked like George played an absolute rubbish corner, and it don't take much for people to tell George that he's rubbish at corners when actually it wasn't his fault. Lyle switched off and didn't get to where he should have been. But so we got the imagination with it. I just don't think we're confident for some reason to go with it, and I suppose what our season's all been about really. We've done all the basics. We're frightened to show any imagination or anything different. We're very regimented, and I think that comes across in our set pieces as well.
Do you want to have a quick word about Maddison, or should we just leave it as we know what he did? Can't really have missed, or he can't have missed what he did. But
it's embarrassing. I'm pleased we reacted to it. I'm pleased we stuck up as a team on it, and the referee dealt with it well.
My favourite bit was the fact that when everyone was piling in, the Peterborough goalkeeper just started warming up. He was just a bit cold.
Did he really?
Yeah, he started just doing laps of the penalty area and star jumps and things.
So I've seen this all before.
Yeah, he's just thought, do you know what? It's freezing today, and it was cold.
It's amazing though, isn't it? I think as you and I got older, we sort of just look at random things that everyone always gets centred and attracted to what's going on, don't they? Do you know what I mean? But you picking up something random like that, God, it obviously shows you how serious you thought that attack was by Trotter.
As I said at the time, I think on Facebook Live, if a WWE wrestler did a headbutt like that, they would be sacked, because you've got to make it look realistic.
It's not real. It's not real.
It is. We're pretty sure it's real, Stu. I'm not imagining it.
Ah, cool.
Predetermined.
So basically what you're saying, Trotter was in a performance of the WWE, but he didn't have a great partner.
Yes, that's a very, very good way of putting it. And hopefully more players will be taking up that role in future games, and maybe Alexa Bliss will come down one week as well. Anyway, final thing. What was I going to mention about this game? Oh yes, we're in the relegation zone now. So are we panicking, or do we think realisation has set in now that this is not a season? Whereas I think in the first couple of months, even stretching into October, you look at the Northampton game and the Rotherham game, we've got those back-to-back wins, and I think people were still thinking, and I'm going to argue that the management team probably thought this as well, that we turn the corner, we'd be picking up wins, and we'd be shooting up the table? Do we now just sort of accept this season is going to be spent in and around the bottom four?
Yeah, and we've got an important 3 or 4 weeks coming up, because with the cup game coming up, that game, it's really weird. We go back to the Sutton United game, don't we? Sort of saying that was our season. But you sort of feel that the way the teams around us are picking up points and picking up maximum points, which we're not doing regularly, is that could we get distracted by the FA Cup game, going into a replay and stuff like that? The FA Cup's going to be a distraction, I feel. We desperately need to get league points on the board, because people around us are picking up maximum points, which is going to leave us. We can't, Plymouth have put a great run together. Bury, I can't believe, are going to stay where they are. I just feel that if we don't get maximum points soon, we're going to, before we know it, get adrift, and we can't afford that. So the FA Cup could be. I know we said the FA Cup game against Lincoln was quite a big game for Neil Ardley. I think the second round just as important, because we want to really try and get some momentum from it, but we also don't want it to be taken over our season.
You know what? In my opinion, though, really, what it all comes down to is that everything's going to be fine. Finish up with some gifts, some gift wraps, which we sent out at very short notice. Yesterday, Wednesday, what day is it? I don't know, I get confused. So I'm going to run through. You can look up these on Twitter, so at 9wireless podcast, search for hashtag gift wrap, and then today's date, which is 16th of November 2017. You'll see our favourite 3. They are from Wild Bear Man 54, who is at Wild Bear Man 54, which is helpful. Also, check out, please, where's he gone? Stephen Hayward, been on before, at Fred the Red YOLO, and Adam Harwood. I loved Adam Harwood's one. At Adam P. Harwood. So if you want to check those out, please do so. Stu, we are running late.
That's sounding great.
So by my estimation, we've got 90 seconds to 2 minutes to go through these things. So let's just literally one-word answers. Best result of League One in the weekend other than ourselves?
Second, I've not got to that bit. I did look through the league. 1 second. Oh dear, I've lost that bit.
I shall quickly fill in for you.
Go on, please.
Plymouth wing away at Bradford, as much as it pains me to say. Plymouth are in very, very good form. So well
so I found my research. I did do some research this week, believe it or not.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Northampton's win at Oxford 2-1.
Yeah, there's lots of good results for teams at the bottom, wasn't it? It was a bad Saturday for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Worst result?
Bradford's home defeat versus Plymouth. Missed penalty, and Sir Jake Reeves hitting the bar as well. So a bit unlucky.
Yeah, but I'd hit the bar if I lost at home to Plymouth. Oh, we did. Worst result for me, Gillingham Bury, because you never want to draw when you're playing against your rivals at the bottom. Draws are not helpful, as you have just said. Hero of the week?
I've got the referee for showing some common sense with the Madison incident at our game.
Interesting. I got a real range of opinions about the referee on Saturday. Some very, very good, some very, very bad. But I think you're right on that score. Did all he needed to do.
Yours?
My hero was Cody McDonald.
Of course.
Yeah, because he played well and he scored a goal. And your villain, I think, probably the same as mine.
No, mine's different, actually. My villain, well, I know mine's different because I know what yours is. My villain is different, actually. My villain is George Jones, our good friend from the podcast, for getting on TV looking like he was going to celebrate a German goal. He was definitely trying to get out. If anyone's seen it, George, you can't miss. He's got a Kevin Keegan perm. And he definitely looks like he's trying to get off his seat when Germany were about to score, but it was cleared for the line. So, that's my villain. He looked like he's a German van.
He's only 14 years old. He's just had such a hard life, bless him.
But he's grown a lot of hair in them 14 years.
That's because I don't think he's cut it once.
Let's save George. Get him. Should we start a hashtag or something about buy George some scissors?
Yeah, cut your hair, George. Do you know what he reminds me of? Do you remember you used to have? Oh man, this is going back to the early days of cable when we first got like Sky TV and stuff. And there used to be, I can't remember what channel it was, there used to be a guy, it's going to bug me, I don't remember his name. He used to do paintings. It would just be him and an easel, and he'd be speaking in a really soft voice.
Oh, I remember him, yeah.
Yeah, doing paintings. That's who George reminds me of with that hair. If he can paint like that guy, then fair play, George. But I've not seen that talent yet.
I just think like George should do some sort of sponsored haircut.
Oh,
like he's got to have a skinhead. And could you imagine George with a skinhead? No. Poor George. Anyway, George is my villain because he was going to celebrate a German goal. Bad George.
Yeah, rubbish George. And thank you for giving us someone else to talk about on the villain thing, because I think we've all probably bored of me saying the name Madison, but who else could it be?
You're listening to these fine gentlemen and their new song, One Horse Town. Available now on iTunes and Spotify.
Right, this is a very loosely scripted show, isn't it? Which is always dangerous. So I reckon, what do we reckon? 15 minutes? Still got to do our do-you as well, yes. Probably only about 15 minutes on this, okay.
Yeah.
So, which is fascinating for the listeners at home to hear us discuss our time.
Which we're very good at.
Yeah. Guys, just entertain yourselves while we sort something out quickly.
We're 30 minutes.
It's like when you get the kids in for like a talk or something and somebody's running late or one of the screens isn't working and you're just like, children, just talk amongst yourselves, or so we fluff about trying to sort this out desperately.
Very quick story, and I know we're running late, but I actually had someone running late for one of my presentations today. So guess what I did? I chucked on dad jokes.
Oh my word!
And they actually wanted to watch the dad jokes more than they wanted to do my presentation, which was. But yeah, I just thought it'd be a filler.
Thanks for that. Wasn't that a song by Michael Jackson?
They loved it. They all literally went and downloaded. Went to YouTube straight after and watched all the others. So.
The person turned up and they were just like, right, we're off. We're going to look up dad jokes now. Oh, presentation. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, we digress.
Yes, we have digressed. Right, we have serious talk now actually, because we're going to talk about budget. Only because Eric Samuelson was talking about the budget in the programme this week, and also giving some figures regarding FA Cup and how much money we can potentially earn, and how it perhaps is not as much as you think it should be when you take into account. I know we've known these things before, but it came on the back of the previous week in the Lincoln programme, where he asked the question, what sort of club do we want to be? Because, as we talk about it every week, don't we? Fans want to see their team doing well, and they want to see us progress. And we've got fans that want to see us in the Championship and in the Premier League and things like that. But Eric makes the point, fans of a fan-owned club can't turn to a rich owner. And therefore, in the future, are we going to have to decide where our level is, and that we're going to be happy not proceeding any higher than that long term because we don't have the finances? Really difficult question, Stuart. I might put you on the spot here, I do apologise, but fans of a fan-owned club can't turn to a rich owner. No, we can't turn to a rich owner, but in the past, have not we benefited from turning to a rich benefactor?
Of course we have. Joe, I see where Eric's come with the question, because we are technically victims of our own success. And also we are a club that is getting new fans, and new fans who necessarily don't understand. I wouldn't say I don't understand what a fans club, because I would have no doubt that some new fans are attracted by the idea of being a fans club. But, as Eric rightly says, there are limitations to it. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, of course we have. We've survived with that for many, many years. We just have chosen not to really promote it heavily. But we know, going back as far as when we signed John Main and Danny Kedwell, and we paid fees for those. They were funded by a benefactor. They were funded by people. That's not a secret. I think everyone knows that. So we have used money from people before. We just haven't given them the lock and the keys and let them take over.
The problem is that now we're in a situation where we're struggling, and we're not looking like we did when we struggled previously. It was, like we said, wasn't it? It was a very easy decision, really, in the end, that a manager had to leave and a new manager had to come in. We're not in that situation now, and a lot of people are pointing towards budget as a way of perhaps explaining our position. And it's, you could argue that Eric was perhaps trying to preempt, or that was his underlying point of his article, was not in fact to think about 5-10 years down the line, but it was actually to address the here and now, which is we don't know officially yet, but we're assumed, Neil Lottie keeps telling us, we have a budget that's in the bottom 4 of teams in the league. If you were to rank the teams by budget, we'd get relegated. That seems to be the crux of the issue at the moment for a lot of fans. And then we talk about budgets, and if budgets are the be-all and end-all. Can you say that the budget is the issue this season? Is that fair to say that because we have less money, that is why we are struggling?
Well, we know it seems to be the thing that's been alluded to. We've always had issue with budgets. We were apparently 14th. We had the 14th best budget when we got out of League Two, so we always know we've got to punch above our weight. I think what the concern we have, and as we're talking about new fans, but if we're talking about old fans, we never really care. Wimbledon fans or Wimbledon players or Wimbledon managers, chairmen, whatever you have them, they never really cared about budgets or never made it an excuse. It actually, in a way, it was what actually made us different and what brought us together. The fact that actually, do you know what, we haven't got the best players, we haven't got the best budget, we haven't got the most skillful players who are going to play for England and so forth and like that. But actually, what we do have is a togetherness, and we fight and we go against adversity. And this year, it just feels to me like we've, if I'm being blunt, cried upon it. We've cried about the budget. We know that the ground is going to cost us a lot of money. I don't think we actually probably know how much or how serious it's going to affect the budget, and I think that's where Eric's coming from. Because we all say that we want a lovely, shiny new ground, but that has to come from somewhere. There is going to be some financing needed, and that may impact on budget. But it's when everyone does it, it's when Eric does it, and Neil Hardy does it, and it keeps on the word budget. As Wimbledon fans, we don't really want to hear that. And also, I would argue, I don't necessarily think it's the reason we are doing as poorly. I think we haven't spent the budget we had as wisely as Neil Hardy spent it in the last 4 years. I'm
going to ask you about Neil Hardy and his spending in a moment. Just musing here and speculating, which perhaps I shouldn't do, but we look at budgets. Two lone players this season, George Long and Jimmy Abdou.
Yes.
Do we know what Harry Forrester, sorry.
Mr. H.
Yes, sorry. With all three of them then, actually, do we have any idea, has anything publicly been stated, I don't know why I'm asking, I know the answer already, but about who is paying their wages this season?
No, I'm guessing it come out of the budget. I'm thinking, is that a loaded question? I'm guessing that's coming out of the budget, isn't it?
It's not a loaded question, I just genuinely don't know, and I just wonder, if you look at someone like George Long, who's a young player, it wouldn't surprise me. And again, this is why I shouldn't perhaps be going down this route, because it is all rumour and innuendo. But it wouldn't surprise me if Sheffield United said, look, we'll pay his wages, we're happy for him to have a year's experience. And then sort of that, if that is the case, even if it's not the case, but if it was the case, is that not an example of what you can do creatively with your budget? In that you can find a player who is arguably one of our best and strongest in the squad, most talented, without having to worry about the cost of it.
Yeah, and loan signings, I suppose you play devil's advocate. We've not always done well with loan signings, and we've been stung, haven't we, before? You know, goalkeepers are a little bit different. I can't remember the last time I got a loan goalkeeper. Oh, I can. Sorry, let's not go down that avenue. But I think George Long is being supplemented, and it's always what I've said all along. Why
his wages are being supplemented.
His wages are being. Of course, not we go down that avenue. But I've said for a little while, I wouldn't sign a goalkeeper on a contract. I would get a loan signing in. My thing was going from maybe a Premiership club who've got 3 or 4 goalkeepers, and they're always willing to loan them out. We've obviously gone to a Sheffield United team that we seem to have very good relationships with their manager. And we might have got a good deal. There's no doubt about that. Hopefully we go back in the window and we get another deal with one of their forwards they've got. But I think, and this is what I say about the budget. I just don't always accept this argument about we haven't got enough budget to compete. We had a budget at the beginning of the season that we gave to Neil Hardy, and we said you need to get a team out of that. Nothing is no different to what's happened the last 4 years, and he's done very well with that, in my opinion. I just think this year we've somehow got seduced into this lovely green pitch at home that Chelsea are going to perform, and we can play this lovely tick-a-tack football, when actually what we realise that to play that football, you need a hefty budget. You need a budget of the worlds that Peterborough have got. And they showed, to be fair, Peterborough showed a lovely, style of their football on Sunday. It was really good against us. We haven't got that, so we have to go back to budget. Sometimes when you haven't got a great budget, you sometimes have to get different types of players. So you go into non-league, or you go into a long ball style, because sometimes the big lumps and, they're not the well sought after players, but you create a style that suits your budget. And I just think I think our budget doesn't. We've gone for this lovely tick-a-tack of football. Actually, we don't have the players for that, and that's where we're stung.
So you've looked at the squad, and you've been trying to evaluate perhaps how we've gone wrong with the budget we have.
Yeah, and again, this is all hindsight. So I'm not saying this at the beginning of the season, but I'm just going with hindsight now on what we know. So we've got a squad of 27 players, 3 goalkeepers, 9 defenders, 10 midfielders, and 5 forwards. So you already look, and don't get me wrong, we're never going to have the same. We're never going to match up forwards for midfielders. But I also looked alongside there what sort of players can play multiple positions. So we've got people like John Mees, Deji, Darius Charles, George Rankin, that sort of thing of it. And I looked at really, one, for I would say, did we need 3 goalkeepers this season? So did we, and this again, we're not privy to budget or how much salary everyone's on, but did we need to have 3 goalkeepers? So George Long, yes, of course, but did we need to supplement with a youth goalkeeper? I'm not going to try and tempt fate here, so please forgive me if I have, but when do you reuse your sub-goalkeeper in a game? Not really. So did we need to? Could we have supplemented that from the youth team when we needed that, or could we have gone in for an emergency loan for if we did get an injury? And that's how I've sort of looked at it for goalkeepers to start off with. When you're skint, what you try and do is you try and save small margins, don't you? So you try and save from wherever you can. And this is what my with the budget is. So did we need 3 goalkeepers? Could we have saved some money from there? In hindsight, did we need Callum Kennedy when we technically had Deji who can play left back, John Meads can play left back? We got 4 centre half. So in hindsight, did we need to bring Callum in? Did we need to give Paul Robinson a contract? I think that one, Paul Robinson now, we're starting to realise now that Paul Robinson probably hasn't got the legs for League One, and I think we'll do very well to see him another season. At the start of the season, I would have said, yes, give Paul Robinson a contract. Now hindsight tells me, did we spend that wisely, and that sort of side of it? The midfield is where I have the issue with. We have 10 midfielders. Within that, we have 3 kids, so Alfie Egan, Neset Baliki, and Anthony Hartigan. Yes, we did know Anthony Hartigan was going to hit the ground running so well, but we added Liam Trotter to that. Now, at the time, I will quite happily say I thought that was a good signing. Based on his experience, we're now quickly realising that the rumours that went around at the time from Bolton fans and Millwall fans are not far from the truth. But the Jimmy Abdou loan signing I do have an issue with because I don't think we needed him. It was the loan signing, if you remember, we got that very late on, didn't we?
Yeah, sorry, I was just thinking, I know we shouldn't be wasting time like this by saying these things. We did need Jimmy Abdou because, if you remember, a pilot or lower was a disaster in the first week of the podcast, and without Jimmy Abdou, we didn't have a game. So, yes.
Well, without Liam Trotter, we didn't have someone to moan at. So
very true.
but
no, we didn't need Jimmy. We panicked. We panicked with midfielders for some reason over this Jake Reeves thing. I really think Neil just. Sorry to go off the point here, but did Neil really not foresee Jake Reeves going? It seemed to really throw him completely. He even admitted as such in Meet the Manager. It was like, who are we going to miss next season? He said Jake Reeves. What about Tom Elliott? Oh yeah, but I knew he was going. Well,
yeah.
Jake Reeves surely it was on the radar at some point, and it.
Yeah. The Jimmy Abdou one. The only thing I can really think about is that there was very strong rumours going around about Jim Abdou about a week or 2 weeks before we signed him. So I'm not too sure whether actually we'd already committed ourselves to getting him. But we got Liam Trotter reasonably early on, didn't we, from memory? So that probably would have done us, even though for whatever we think about Liam Trotter. Did we need another central midfielder? Maybe we were worried about Anthony Hartigan, but all basically bringing Jimmy Abdou done was move Alfie down the list. Anthony Hartigan, we weren't expecting to get anything. We already had Dean Parrott. We had Tom Sauce already in the central midfield area. And of course, then obviously the area that I feel we've just mucked up completely this season is our forward line. So we went for 5. There's 5 forwards registered. Egley Carter is counted as a forward. Technically, you're right. He plays wide. He can play wide right. So yes, in that sense, he's a forward. Could say could play in a 4-4-2 and become a midfielder. But we went with Kwesi Appiah, Cody McDonald, Lyle Taylor, and Jaden Antwi. We are 1 forward short, big time. And that 1 forward is that target man. It's where we failed on, and I think we could have, in hindsight, and I loved it. I want to make sure we say that in hindsight, we could have saved little bits of money by not having a third goalkeeper, by not having Callum, by not doing a loan deal with Jimmy, which I don't think is cheap. And then all that money together could have given us that budget to get it forward, because we don't have an option from the bench, and we sort of like got into this mode of going, we have a striker crisis because we got 1 injury. It's 1 injury. That's not a striker crisis. So that's my thing. I think we could have shaved off a lot of money from trusting the youth a bit better, not signing the experienced players and getting that target man in. I think that's where we made an error in hindsight this season.
I also think budget would be more... I think fans would be more accommodating towards the talk of the budget if, as you say, we hadn't stocked up on midfielders. And if Alfie Egan was playing regularly, if Anthony Hartigan was playing regularly, you don't want Anthony Hartigan to be playing every week, of course, at his age, but more regularly than he is at the current time. And if they weren't quite up to it, and we were still struggling where we are now, if not a little worse, nobody would have any complaints, though, would we? You might say, you might question whether it was a wise idea to be having to rely on these players, but again, you could argue you're not expecting Dean Parrott to be injured for so long, were you? If you're not expecting Jake Reeves to leave, for argument's sake. And you'd say, do you know what, fair enough, we're trying to bring through our own players and it's not going to happen for us overnight. So I think, would that have perhaps allayed some of the negativity around the place, as opposed to people being able to whinge, and I'm guilty of this, but I don't apologise for it, whinging at Liam Trotter every week?
Possibly. We're not overly transparent, are we? And Neil Ardley, unfortunately, this season, sort of, especially the last couple of weeks, is sort of trying to keep himself away from the media for whatever reason. He isn't coming out and speaking, and we don't really ask those questions. And I understand that on our social media. We don't really want to interrogate our manager, but equally, there are some questions that we want answers for at the moment, because we do seem short in certain areas. The thing is, my understanding was that our squad would be supplemented by our youth products, our academy. So if you look in every position, we've got players from that. But the defensive one's the interesting one for me. You've got Toby Civic, who had a bit of exposure last year, come in and done all right in the games. He had a bit of a mare against Luton in the last game, but hey, that's what happens with kids.
That's what happens when you play quality teams.
Well, Luton put their second string out, didn't they? Do you know what I mean? But
still a quality team.
But if we're talking about budgets, then leading to Luton is quite an interesting one.
That's not an issue for Luton, though. Budget's not a problem.
Exactly. But you've got to look at Paul Cannon-Baye as well, which I sort of look at when I put the squad together. Where's that name gone? He's still a squad member, but we've sort of gone from this player that was introduced in last pre-season, was talked about being this. Maybe overhyped him. It might be our own fault. But where's he gone? Should he have been a supplement for Paul Robinson? Should Paul Robinson have been gone? Actually, Joe Robbo, we'd love to give you a contract. We see you as a fourth choice striker next season. So, actually, do we need that?
Fourth choice centre half.
Sorry, fourth choice centre half. Sorry, I keep getting confused. And Darius plays up.
Darius is fourth choice striker.
But you could argue that did we need Paul Robinson as an experience? And he's not on rubbish money. I don't know that, but I'm always guaranteed he's not on rubbish money. So could Paul Cannon-Baye have been your fourth choice centre half, again then releasing money elsewhere? I just think if we were looking to trust our youth team or youth products of covering, then we're really not, because the bench this season, you and I commented about this on Sunday, the Peterborough bench and nearly every bench that we've faced this season has had really good options from the bench to change games, or if they've lost a bit of their attacking momentum, making it continue. If we go back to last season, we always did the famous sub at 60 minutes, didn't we, where Tom Elliott would come off and Don Poland would come on and all that. So we did it religiously. Now we probably have one sub, two subs max at the moment, who are going to make any impact or even trust it to go on the pitch. So and that's where the squad thing comes from. We have nothing from the bench to change it, and we've just obviously let Alfie Egan go out and loan to Sutton, which it feels, to me, just feels a little bit like we've let him down. And I might be being harsh, but I just feel we haven't given him any exposure. Andy Hartman has overtaken him. We've never used him, so he might as well go out. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one that's instigated that loan deal rather than us doing it.
So if you were in Neil Ardley's shoes at the start of the season, many people would be asking, Stu, why are you wearing Neil Ardley's shoes? But if you were in his position as manager, you were looking at a squad, you're putting together a squad of 25. Do you think it just needs a little bit more balance there? You'd take a few midfielders out and replace them with maybe an extra striker?
Yeah, easily. I've always said, the reason I've always championed George Frankham is the ability to play in a number of positions. You need those sort of players. So we have that John Mees, Deji, Darius Charles, Harry Forrester can play in midfield, can play up front, George can play anywhere, Andy Bartram can play left midfield, left forward. They're your most valuable players because they then help your squad dynamics. But we did, we're top heavy. I think we're top heavy easily by a midfielder or a defender. We could have gone either way. My thing would have been As much as I love the performances recently by Jimmy Abdu, I just don't think. I think we should have sacrificed him and got the extra forward.
And speaking of Jim Abdu, I don't want to swear, but he let us down last week, didn't he? Had decided he'd rather go away swanning off with the Commerce, as Darius Charles said. Darius was never going to let us down, like Jimmy did. Damn it, Jimmy.
Yeah, as I say, the thing is, I love. And you know what's really frustrating about Jimmy Abdu? I thought he had a cracking performance the week before, and this international thing is just. How many more games have they got? Because we're going to lose it for quite a lot more games now.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact number is, but luckily,
let's find more internationals.
Let's just be happy that we've got players like Darius Charles who refuse to let the team down by swanning off on international duty, unlike Jimmy. Anyway, Jimmy Abdu, yes, despite going away on international duty with the Commodores, he has been able to perform his 9 years podcast duties this week and gone and visited an ex-player of ours. First clue, Stu, Jimmy, upon meeting this player, or hearing the name of this player, didn't think he was a fan of possession.
Oh, fan of possession? Oh, that's one of your cryptic things again, isn't it? No, I'm rubbish at these ones. Let's just skip to the second.
Just like that. Not even just pluck a name out of thin air.
Jimmy Abdu.
Jimmy Abdu's gone to visit himself. Okay, all right.
Well, he might as well get more sense.
Possibly. This player then, he has played, or did play, 47 times for AFC Wimbledon, scored 3 times. One of which doesn't even make sense. One of his goals came in our first ever home win as AFC Wimbledon.
Oh. You know, the first thing going by was Kevin Cooper, and I thought, once again, he got more than 3 goals.
Just a bit.
First home win. Would it have been Joe? No, Joe Sharon scored more goals than that. I'm trying to think now the first season who we had. Kevin Cooper, Ali Russell. Was it Ali Russell? Possibly.
Is that your guess?
This is not my strongest subject, by the way, the first season, because we had so many players.
Yeah, we did have a lot of players. I got
Ali Russell.
Okay, well, and the final clue then, this is a midfielder.
Oh, great.
Never played higher than the CCL with us, but was generally well respected amongst the fan base. So a midfielder, only played the CCL, only scored 3 goals.
Okay, midfielder. Let's think back. I always get my seasons confused with who we had at certain points. So, first season midfielder, would it have been Lee Sybil? Would have been around there, but he got more goals than that. Said for Gareth. Oh, crikey. Seb Favata.
Is that your final answer?
Chris Jow.
Chris Jow didn't play in the CCL for us, so no.
No, that's what I was thinking.
And actually, Seb Favata didn't play for us in the first season, so it couldn't have been him either.
Yeah, I was struggling on first season midfielders. Trying to picture now. No, you probably got me my weakest subject. Well, not weakest subject, because women is not a weakest subject. But
I was going to say, I would have thought quantum mechanics might have been more like that. But
Gareth Graham, no, he was later on than that. No, I can't really think. Seb Favata, but you just answered my question.
Anagram?
Yeah, please.
Rome Arse Peel.
Ramon Rose. He wasn't a midfielder, though, was he?
He certainly wasn't in the CCL either.
No, mate, I'm done. You've done me on this one. This is probably my weakest season.
Oh, dear. It was Lee Passmore.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't like possession.
Possession.
Yeah, because he likes to pass more, so he doesn't like to stay in possession, you see?
Do you know what? Apart from Mikey T, I would love to challenge people to say they can remember not first 11, do you know what I mean, but how many players they can name with that first season, because we had a lot of players. Lee Passmore, yeah.
If you did get that answer correct, please just let us know on Twitter or Facebook. Just let us know and tell us which clue you got it on. I'd be very impressed if you got it on the first one. And anyway, talking about firsts, Bristol Rovers. We travel there on Saturday in search of our first ever win at the Memorial Stadium. Yeah, our record there is horrendous. It is awful. I'm not going, Stu. I'm broke, but I'm happy. Are you going down there?
No. I mean, I think away games for this year is probably going to be on the decline. I think just because it's a long way to go recently at the moment with the current way we are doing, and Bristol Rovers doesn't really. I tell you what, Bristol Rovers is one of the games that actually I do like because they do cracking catering. They do like Cornish pasties, pies, all local produce. Really good. If you're going down there, make sure you get your. They sold out last time, if I remember properly. They do some really good catering as well. But no, I won't be going.
You could, if you really want some good catering. If you really, 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 really want some good catering at football grounds, what you need to do on a Saturday afternoon is get down onto the Kingston Road, turn into Kings Meadow, park your car, get out, and then walk to any other football ground in the country, because you ain't getting any good food at Kings Meadow, I'll tell you that much. Anyway, Bristol Rovers, 4 defeats in their last 5, plus an FA Cup exit on top of that as well. They score a lot, Stu. They concede a lot. I think we're going to win this game. I think this is one of those where, similar to Blackburn, we can keep ourselves tight, compact, frustrate the home crowd. I think they're in a bad mood at the moment, and they'll probably turn a little bit, especially as they're expected to win as a home side against a team in the bottom 4. I think this suits us. Do you agree?
Hey, look, if we're ever going to get something at Bristol Rovers, this is probably the weekend we're doing it.
It's not going to be next weekend or last weekend, is it?
Yeah. As soon as I said that, I knew what I just was. This is why we script things. No, I still would have said that. Yeah, this is the best chance we're going to get at beating Bristol Rovers of any other games that are going to be there in the future. That doesn't even make sense either, but we're going to leave it alone.
No, that's right. That's fine. Yeah, that.
They're bottom of the league. They're bottom of the form guide. Lost 4 out of the last 5. Their manager has openly slated their team and said that if they don't buck up their ideas, he will make serious changes during the window. So he's not holding any prisoners there either, which is not like other people's managers that are doing that. So, yeah, they're under pressure. Their fans, as you rightly say, turn very quickly. They're not the most of a... They want success. They've got a new ground on the horizon. They think they're the biggest club in Bristol and that sort of area, and they won't allow or settle for any second best. So when they're doing poorly, this is probably the best time to visit them. I think it'll be a 0-0 draw.
So it's our go-to prediction this season, 0-0.
Yeah, it's a safe bet.
Yeah, it is the safest bet of all bets. Ironically, I don't think we've had that many 0-0s this season, bizarrely. Off the top of my head, I actually don't think of one. Is that right? That can't be right.
What, a 0-0?
Yeah. We've had 4 draws. We've had the 1-1 Gillingham one. Yeah, it is Rochdale.
Yeah.
How random is that?
But I just feel it'll be a 0-0 because we don't score many, and they're in bad form. And we don't get turned over heavily. As Neil Hardy said, we don't tend to get turned over heavily, apart from at Oxford. That's the only real time we've done that. Yeah. I'll put your next question.
So did I. Just very quickly, because we're running out of time, just any players that we should be mindful of on Saturday that we're coming up against?
Oh, yeah, big time player I love. It was at Oxford, Liam Sercombe. He's probably their best player this season by a mile. 5 goals, 5 assists. Reportedly got him from Oxford for 150,000 in the summer, which is an absolute steal. I think he's a great player. Him and probably Ellis Harrison, who just looks to be getting better and better up front. So they're the players that I probably will keep an eye on.
Can I chuck Tom Nichols' name into that mix?
Yeah, you can do. The old Exeter player, which they have a quite good term. They get quite a few players from Exeter.
So they've got threats, really. So their form is pretty poor, really, isn't it? When you look at the talent in that squad, actually, thinking about it. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, they're seriously underperforming. And that's the thing. So will that turn around at some point? Don't forget, it's the same team that beat Northampton 6-0 only 6 or 7 games ago. Yeah, so, yeah, it could easily turn. And, yeah, let's hope not against us.
You're going for a 0-0. I'm going to go for a 2-0 away win because reasons. What other game are you looking out for on Saturday in League One?
I don't know. Is there any other games in League One?
Do you know what? There's 2 that I picked out, but I didn't. I only picked out one of those because I thought you'd pick out the other one. So let's, if you followed that logic, the first one I picked out was Walsall versus Gillingham because Walsall are down really in the nether regions of the table as well. They've got to be careful. So Gillingham, who obviously we're battling with to stay up this season, that could be a good opportunity for them. So I think that's a big game. Walsall will be looking at as a must-win, I think, to get themselves out of trouble. There was a very important game. I think it might have been Oldham. I'm just double-checking now. They are indeed at home to Rochdale. So, yes, massive game.
Yeah, there's a couple of us there, both Plymouth against Oxford. So how do Oxford respond from losing at home to Northampton? Plymouth doing well. I fancy a Plymouth win for that. And I'm interested to see how Bury respond against. I suppose all my games are down the bottom, not surprisingly, but Bury are home to Blackburn. Obviously, after Bury's loss against Woking in the week, or not loss, absolutely slaughtered at home by Woking, of how they bounce back against Blackburn, because that squad, we talk about budgets very quickly, that squad is full of a lot of expensive players who are letting down their manager and chairman. So let's hope it continues.
Elsewhere around the club in this week just gone, we'll go through the ladies' big win in the FA Cup, beat Godalming, I believe, 5-0 on Sunday, whilst we were drawing with Peterborough. They have been drawn against Portsmouth in the next round, and of course that now clashes with our FA Cup second round game with Charlton, so well done for the scheduling there, FA. Thank you very much. That was great of you. This Saturday it's a return to league action. They host Haringey Borough at Gander Green Lane, so 2 o'clock kickoff. If you would like to go down and not only watch the ladies team, but also if you want to meet your heroes of the 9 Years podcast, maybe get an autograph. I'm doing pictures for a £5. You can have your picture taken with me, and Stu's doing them for £2.50 and a packet of chips.
I can't believe you want to go and meet. The reason we say that, actually, we last couple of home games, we've been very flattered by fans approaching us whilst we're doing our Facebook Live, sort of saying, "Oh, we watch every week," and it's the most flattering. It really is, if not difficult to get used to. But yes, I'm not yet a celebrity, Nick. Even though I'm very easy to recognise because, well, I can't really hide in crowds.
No, and if you're not sure, if you want to come down and meet me and you're not sure who I am, I'm the 24-year-old that looks like Johnny Lee Miller.
Oh dear.
Also, we have to mention the Academy, a very unfortunate FA Youth Cup defeat on Tuesday night away at Plymouth. I say unfortunate. Mark Robinson's come out and he said, "Look, it just wasn't good enough." And I think that's a good attitude. I think that's a great attitude, in fact.
Has he really said that? Has he? I've not listened to it.
He came out yesterday, Wednesday, and said, he said it wasn't good enough, basically. He thanked everyone that went down to travel, and well done if you went to go and support the youth team down at Plymouth. He thanked them, the fans, but said from the team's perspective it was a bad result and they should have done a lot better. And I think because it's the youth team, the natural reaction from all of us that don't go and see them regularly, concentrated more on the first team, we kind of go, "Oh, it's bad luck, unfortunate," because naturally you want to encourage and you don't want to put them down or anything, but it's his job as a manager to call them out if they don't think they're hitting the right levels. And I think it's the first time I can remember ever publicly having a youth team criticised, but I don't think it's going to do any harm whatsoever.
Yeah, Joe, he doesn't always do it on camera, but he's if you read some of his reports after games and that, he does. He calls it as it is. He's part of their development. Mark's a very honest guy, wears his heart on his sleeve. And by all accounts, I think we were expected to go down and win that from what the management team expected. So, I've got a lot of time for Mark Robinson and James Sawyer at the Academy, and they will be extremely gutted that they didn't get further in the competition. Obviously, at home tie against Man City. But you know what? We've had some really good runs, and I think you can't have a great one every year, and we can't expect it every year. And this group of lads is just taking a little bit of time to gel, and he calls it as it is. And I've always got a lot of admiration for Mark for doing that.
On that positive note, we shall bring to an end this week's podcast with some good news, Stu. I've been able to do my research. That man with the painting, the joy of painting, of course it was called that. Bob Ross.
The joy of painting?
Yeah, with Bob Ross. With the greatest afro.
I remember the person, I never knew his name because I didn't really care about his name really. I just remember, did it look like very old and vintage? It even felt like the camera was old.
It was.
Everything about it was vintage.
Yeah, vintage. Even at the time, it was vintage, I'd say. But what time was it? When would I have been watching this? So the advent of cable, maybe mid-90s, around that time? Yeah. Early mid-90s?
I thought you were too young to be allowed to watch TV at that time.
These are VHSs I watched that were recorded from my mother and father.
Of course.
That might be a lie. So yes, thank you, Bob, for your joy of painting. And I hope today you've enjoyed the joy of podcasting with myself and Stu talking absolute nonsense. Basically, that's it, yeah. Thanks for listening.
Cheers.
All the usual. Twitter at 9YRS Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, all that lot. 9YRS Podcast. Jim Potter's updated his analysis of our results to see if we are meeting expected progress, I think is a good way of putting it, because we use that phrase in teaching a lot. So have to check that one out, 9yrspodcast.org. Other than that, just time to say thank you. I said we've got all the time we want, really, Stu, to be honest with you, but all I'll say is thanks, Stu, for joining me.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. Join us next week when... Do you know what, next week, let's just speak to Bob Ross. Let's just see if we can get him on about painting and stuff. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, and we'll speak to you again next week. And thank you for listening. Join us next week when... Do you know what, next week, let's just speak to Bob Ross. Let's just see if we can get him on about painting and stuff.
Is he still alive?
Well, we ended on a morose note. We're going to finish on a morose note. Is Bob... Let me Google that one. Is Bob Ross dead? Is this really going to be broadcast?
The suspense is killing people.
It says, but it's killed him, apparently. I typed it in wrong. I said, is Bo Ross dead? I don't know who Bo Ross is. Died in 95.
In that case, we will not be speaking to him next week.
Join us next week. We're going to be joined by a medium and psychic to speak to Bob Ross from beyond the grave. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, and we'll speak to you again next week. I'm not sure how much of that last 5 minutes we can actually broadcast. He would still be more useful in our midfield than Liam Trotter.